Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Aiman with number metric of 12429 and 71. And this is my assignment for SMA 2033. The assignment covers for two problems. For the first, a home financing case for Ahmed and Sarah, where I calculate their monthly installment, build a full amortization schedule, and work out the fastest they could pay off the loan using extra repayment. Second, an investment appraiser comparing two projects, Project Seri and Project Bakavali, using IRR and PV and discounted payback period. Everything here is calculated with financial mathematics formula and the whole workbook is dynamic. So if I change an input like the interest rate, everything recalculate automatically. Let me walk through and show you how I built it. So I have organized the workbook into clearly separated tab in an input tab for all my assumption, then calculation and schedule tabs, and summary tab for the final answer. On the input tab, I have got the principal RM 300,000 ringgit, the annual effective rate of 4.5%, the term and the phase boundaries 6-month deferral and interest only until month 36. One important decision I have made here, the question says the rate is an effective 4.5% per annum. So I convert that to a true monthly equivalent rate using 1 plus I divided by 1 over 12 minus 1, rather than just dividing by 12. That gives a monthly rate of about 0.3675% in cell B5. I'll come back to why this matters. I have formatted the percentage input, the annual rate, and the extra repayment cap to 2 decimal places, since that's the standard way you quote a rate in practice. But I kept the derived monthly effective rate at 4 decimal places since it's used in every calculation downstream and need the extra position. All my input cells are in blue with yellow highlighting, so it's clear what I can change, and every other cell is a formula that references this input. Nothing is hard-coded. This tab has all 360 months of the loan. Each row uses one formula that adapts depending on the phase. For month 1 to 6, the payment is 0 and interest just compound onto the balance. For month 7 to 36, the payment equals the interest exactly, so the balance doesn't move. That's the interest only phase. From month 37, I use a fixed installment calculated once using the standard amortization formula. Installment equals the month 36 balance times the monthly rate divided by 1 minus 1 plus I to the power of minus of the remaining number of month. That formula sits in cell J1 and I have worked it out to be 1,620 ringgit and 83 cents. So that's my answer to part 1. One nested if formula in column D handles all 3 phases automatically, so the whole schedule recalculate if I change an input. You can see the balance end at exactly 0 in month 360, which confirm the installment is correct. So that is for my answer in part 2. So for part 3, I built a second schedule that adds an extra annual repayment. That extra repayment formula checks whether this month is the start of the year at month 13, 25, 37, and so on, and whether we are in year 2 or later. If so, it takes 10% of that month opening balance, apply it right after the regular payment for that month, and capped it so it can never overpay the loan, because the rule is based purely on the month number and the start year input. The formula works correctly no matter what the interest rate, cap percentage, or start year is, which is what made it dynamic. A few things I want to highlight about how this model handles the specific rules in the question. First, the interest-only payment in month 7 to 36 is based on each month opening balance, not a fixed number, so once an extra repayment happens from year 2 onward, the following interest-only payment automatically drop. That standard behavior for an interest-only loan and keeps the model honest. Second, once amortization start in month 37, I calculate the fixed installment only once based on the original month 36 balance, the one from part 1, before any extra repayment, and then I hold that installment constant throughout. Extra repayments still reduce the actual balance and shorten the term, they just don't change the installment amount, which is exactly how banks apply voluntarily extra repayment in real mortgage and keep the first 3 years schedule structure unchanged as the question requires. So, if I change the interest rate on the input tab, for example to 5%, every schedule, both installment and the minimum term all update immediately. So you can see. So that's the differences. So to summarize question 1, for part 1, the normal monthly installment from month 37 onward is, let's change back to 4.5%. So let's go back to the normal monthly installment from month 37 onward. If the annual rate is 4.5%, is 1,620 ringgit and 83 cent. So for the part 2, the full 360 month amortization schedule is on the Q1 normal schedule tab, and it close to exactly 0 in month 360. Part 3, by maximizing the extra repayment at the start of every year from year 2 onward, 10% of that year's opening balance each time, Amir and Sarah could clear the entire $300,000 ringgit loan in 146 months, which is 12 years and 2 months, instead of the original 30 years. That's a reduction of nearly 18 years, which shows how powerful early capped extra repayments are on a long 10-year loan. So let's move on to the question 2. I have calculated the IRR NPV at the 4.5% target rate and discounted payback period for both projects using the actual year and cash flow from the worksheet on the Q2 calculation tab. Project 3 has an IRR of 9.18% and an NPV of about 374 ringgit with a discounted payback of 16.16 years. Project Bakavali has a slightly higher IRR of 9.64%, a slightly lower NPV of about 485,516 ringgit and a much faster discounted payback of 13.40 years. So the two projects split the three criteria. Bakavali wins on IRR and payback. Meanwhile, Sri wins on NPV, but only by on about 2.6%. My recommendation is to fund Project Bakavali. It wins decisively on 2 of the 3 matrices, as Sri's NPV advantage is narrow, while Bakavali recovers its capital nearly 3 years sooner, which matter for risk. That said, I have noted that Sri needs less total capital upfront across its early loss-making years, so on a value per ringgit invested basis, it actually quite competitive. Bakavali is the stronger overall choice, but Sri isn't a bad alternative if the board prioritizes absolute NPV over playback speed. Overall, the assignment shows a fully formula-driven model, can handle a multi-phase loan structure and a full investment appraisal while staying dynamic enough that any input can be changed and the whole model updates instantly. So that's all from me. Thank you. Okay. Assalamualaikum.